Some stories are written in ink. Ours are written in fear. Welcome to Whisper Pen. Take a deep breath and let the darkness in.
Story 1. Low battery, 1%, screen flickering. Dear God, don't die now. Please, please, you're the only thing showing me where it is. It's in the trees, I know it is. That long, twisted shape. No! The tablet screen died, black. The sudden silence was almost deafening after the frantic pounding of my own heart. I'm alone, utterly alone in the darkness of the Navajo woods. Okay, breathe. Ben, you're a tech guy. You live by logic. Be logical. The screen is off. The drone is dead. You can't see it anymore. But that doesn't mean it can't see you. We were a documentary crew, which sounds grander than the 3 amateurs with an expensive drone that we were. Alex, the smug director, always going on about the artistic angle and capturing the moment. Maria, the sound specialist, the only one of us with any sensitivity who had said from the start that this forest gave her a bad feeling. And me, Ben, the tech nerd, the one who flew our eye in the sky. Our goal was to film coyotes at night. Alex was so proud of the drone's 4K night vision camera. See, worth every penny, he gloated as we reviewed the first shots. The landscape was breathtaking, valleys rolling away under the moonlight like another world. It started when Maria squinted at the monitor. Wait, she said, rewind that, Ben, the part with the deer. I did. A deer stood at the edge of a clearing. As the drone passed, it turned its head. Normal enough, but its eyes, captured by the infrared camera, were not a deer's eyes. They had the predatory glow of the coyote we'd filmed earlier. Must be a reflection, Alex said, but his voice lacked conviction. We tried to brush it off, but the unease had taken root. The next shot was what truly scared us. The drone was flying high, getting a wide shot. In the distance, on a ridge, a shape was moving. At first it looked like a bear, but then it stretched, becoming unnaturally tall and thin before dropping back to all fours and running with the speed of a cheetah. It was changing shape before our eyes. What the hell was that? Maria stammered, her face pale. But the final shot, the one that completely broke us, was when I brought the drone down to check on our own campsite. The screen showed our 3 little heat signatures sitting around the fire, and directly above us, on a thick branch, another figure was clinging to the wood. It was thin, long, with limbs like a spider, scuttling along the branch, its head turning from one of us to the next. It had been there, watching us, the whole time. Alex let out a horrified scream. Maria started to sob. We ran. Without a word, we bolted in 3 different directions into the darkness like panicked animals. I was the only one who managed to grab the tablet. And now, here I am, after running for my life. The screen is dead. I'm hiding behind a sagebrush, its pungent smell making me sick. It's been quiet for a long time. Maybe I lost it. Maybe it went after Alex or Maria, a horrible, selfish thought, but it's the only thing keeping me from going insane. Suddenly, a rustle. Very close. My heart stopped. Ben? It's Alex's voice. A wave of dizzying relief washed over me. Ben, it's me. Come on out. I found the trail. We can get out of here.
I almost sobbed with joy. He was alive. I was about to stand to call his name. But then, a tiny, weak sound came from the tablet in my hands. A beep. With its last gasp of power, the screen flickered to life for a single, static second. It was the view from the drone's camera, now lying on its back on the ground not far away. And standing over it, looking down into the lens, was a tall, twisted creature, a nightmare of broken branches and shadow. It had Alex's face, but its mouth was stretched into a grin that was far too wide as it repeated in a voice that was not quite human. Come on out. I found the trail. The screen died for good. I clapped my hand over my mouth to keep from screaming. It doesn't just change shape. It mimics voices. It's a perfect trap. The calls from Alex stopped. a heavy silence fell. Then I heard another sound, a soft weeping. Ben, help me. I'm so scared. It was Maria's voice. It was trying a different lure. It was learning, adapting. I knew I couldn't stay. I had to run. I scrambled to my feet and crashed blindly through the darkness, with no goal but to put distance between me and that voice. I tripped and fell, my face and hands scratched raw by branches. Finally, I tumbled headfirst into a clearing. Gasping for air, I pushed myself up, and I saw them. In the center of the clearing, placed neatly on the ground, were our 3 backpacks. Mine, Alex's, and Maria's. Next to them was my drone, completely undamaged. It was a trap, an invitation. A dry twig snapped directly behind me. I turned slowly, my whole body shaking. Standing at the edge of the clearing, bathed in moonlight, wasn't a monster. It was me. A perfect copy of myself was standing there. It wore my clothes, had my messy hair. It even had the same fresh scratches on its face. But its eyes were hollow, black pits of nothingness. And it was smiling, a faint smile that held an ancient, malevolent understanding. My double said nothing. It just slowly raised a hand and pointed at me. And then, from all around me in the forest, the voices began. Ben, son, my mother's voice. Time to come home, my father's voice. We've been waiting for you, Alex's voice. Don't be afraid anymore, Ben, Maria's voice. The voices of everyone I had ever loved, weaving together into a ghostly chorus, closing in. The skinwalker doesn't just take a shape. It takes memories. It takes love. It had cornered me with my own life. I looked down at my own trembling hands, wondering if they were really mine anymore. Which one of us was me? The one standing there, or the one being surrounded? The chorus of familiar voices grew louder, and I had nowhere left to run. Because how can you run from yourself?
Story 2. Don't look up. For the love of God, never look up. It's on the roof. I don't just hear the wood groaning under its impossible weight, I feel it. A pressure bearing down on this entire rickety structure as if the sky itself is collapsing. Every time it moves, the slightest shift of its bulk, dust and rust flakes rain down from the ceiling, a filthy benediction on my face and hair. I've been huddled under this metal desk for, I don't know. Time has lost all meaning. There is only the darkness, the howling wind outside, and the weight of it above. Calm down, Mike. Take a deep breath. You're a smug idiot, but you're not dead. Yet. Just survive the night. How did I end up in this mess? My own damn ego, that's how. Mike Rask, urban survivalist. That's how I introduce myself on my tiny YouTube channel. I thought a solo hike through the Appalachians in West Virginia, map-free, would make for killer content. Instinct is the best compass, I'd said to the camera like a clown. Well, my instinct led me in circles until a freak storm rolled in, turning the forest into a chaotic mess of rain, thunder, and darkness. Just as I was about to give up and cry like a baby, I saw it. An old fire watchtower, a skeleton of rusted steel reaching above the tree line like a rotten finger pointing at the angry sky. It was the ugliest thing I'd ever seen, and also the most beautiful. Climbing the slick metal stairs was a nightmare, But the room at the top, though dusty and smelling of damp decay, was paradise. It was empty, save for a desk, a broken chair, and a thick, leather-bound logbook lying on the desk. A watchman's log. Jackpot, I thought, a little light reading to kill time while the storm passed. The first few pages were mind-numbingly dull. Day 4, rain. Day 5, more rain. Saw a deer, named him Steve. I chuckled. But then the tone began to shift. Boredom gave way to a vague anxiety. Day 12, saw that big bird again. It doesn't fly right. Wings barely move, just glides, silent, too big. Day 17, I saw it last night, at the edge of the woods. It was just standing there, got the binoculars on it. It's no bird. I don't know what it is. It has eyes, red eyes, like glowing coals. He started calling it the Mothman. I laughed out loud. Mothman? Sounded like a villain from a Scooby-Doo cartoon. Probably a mutated owl or some local on meth, I muttered to myself, feeling superior to this poor, superstitious watchman. My arrogance evaporated when I read the last entry. The man's handwriting was a nearly illegible scrawl, the ink smudged as if by tears. It's not an omen of the disaster. It is the cause. The instant I finished the sentence, I heard the wing beats. A deep, heavy whomp, whomp, like the air itself was being torn by something massive. I told myself it was the storm. But then, through the grind-caked window, I saw them. 2 glowing red dots, hovering in the air, unblinking, staring at the tower, at me. Then a colossal shadow blotted out the moon as it swooped up and landed on the roof with a thud that shook the entire structure. My cold coffee cup on the desk tipped over. I let out a pathetic shriek and dove under the desk. Hours have passed since then. It remains up there, terrifyingly silent. The silence is worse than the noise. It implies patience, a predator's patience. I have to do something. I can't die here. I have a YouTube channel with 237 subscribers waiting for my killer content. With all my remaining courage, I slowly crawl out from under the desk. The creaking from the roof had stopped. Maybe it left? I tiptoe to the logbook, flipping to the last page, hoping for a clue I missed. And I find one. A small passage written in pencil in the bottom corner, the script so shaky it was almost just lines. It read, "I was wrong. It isn't the cause. It's drawn to fear. It won't leave as long as you're afraid. It will wait. It will feed on your terror until you go mad. It never leaves. It just waits for the next watchman." A cold sweat trickled down my spine, so it doesn't want to get in. It just wants me to be scared. Suddenly, a soft click came from the old shortwave radio on the desk. I jumped. I hadn't touched it. It hissed with static, and then a voice came through. A horribly familiar voice. My voice. Mothman sounded like a villain from the Scooby-Doo cartoon. The radio rasped in my own mocking tone from hours before. My blood ran cold. It had heard me. It recorded me. It was toying with me. And then, the worst part. The presence was no longer just on the roof. It was everywhere. I looked out the north window, and 2 red eyes stared back from the darkness. I spun in terror to the south window. They were there too. East, west, 4 pairs of red eyes surrounding me, besieging me. It wasn't one creature. It was a presence. It was everywhere my fear could reach. The tower began to sway, not violently, but in a gentle, rhythmic motion, like a giant child rocking its new toy. The metal groaned. The welds creaked. It could tear this place apart whenever it wanted. I collapsed to the floor, no longer screaming, just letting out choked, defeated sobs. I was done. I surrendered. I wasn't afraid anymore, just empty, hopelessly resigned. And as my fear subsided, the swaying stopped. The red eyes vanished. Silence returned. I lay there on the cold floor for I don't know how long. When I was finally able to sit up, I felt a change. The air was no longer heavy. I had survived. I shakily got to my feet and glanced at the logbook on the desk. Something was different. It was open to a new page, a crisp, clean page that I swear wasn't there before. And on it, in neat, terrifyingly perfect script, was a new entry. It was my handwriting. It read, Day 1. Arrived. The storm is bad, but the tower is sturdy. The view is magnificent. I think I'm going to like it here. I never wrote those words. I looked down at my hands, still trembling. The horrifying truth dawned on me. The logbook wasn't a record. It was a script. The previous watchman's part was over. My shift, my role, had just begun. I wasn't a survivor. I was the new bait, and I was trapped here to wait for the next victim lost in a storm, to listen to them laugh at my story before the monster on the roof welcomed them.
Story 3. The chewing. Dear God, the chewing. It's not a normal sound. It's wet, resonant, a grotesque symphony of splintering bone and tearing sinew. It's right behind me. I know it is. I don't dare look back because I'm terrified I'll see something with Dave's or Sarah's face, but with eyes that are no longer human. Their mouths smeared with red. The freezing snow whips at my face. My lungs feel like they're being stabbed by 1,000 tiny icicles with every breath. Each step is an agony, the snow reaching my thighs, but that sound is a motivator more powerful than exhaustion. It feels like a promise, a prophecy of my own fate if I stop. Okay, I think I lost them. I'm huddled in a small rock alcove, a fissure in the mountainside, sheltered from the wind. My heart is still hammering against my ribs like a caged, frantic bird. I force my breathing to slow. Each exhale, a cloud of white vapor in front of my face. Silence. Finally. Only the sound of the wind screaming over the distant peaks. How did everything go so wrong? Just a few hours ago, we were laughing. Me, Leo, along with Dave and Sarah. Dave is a bona fide history geek. He can tell you about every Civil War battle, but can't pitch a tent to save his life. Sarah is the opposite, a pragmatist who always carried a multi-tool and a roll of duct tape, just in case Leo and Dave do something stupid again, as she'd say. This hike in the Sierra Nevadas was Dave's idea. To connect with history, he said, to feel what the pioneers felt. Well, I think we're feeling a little too much now. The tragedy began when Dave nearly tripped over it. An old hand-cranked gramophone, almost completely buried beneath a fallen tree's roots. Its brass was tarnished a sickly green, but it was otherwise terrifyingly intact, as if time itself had deliberately avoided it. No way, Dave gasped, dropping to his knees and carefully brushing the snow away. His eyes were gleaming behind his thick glasses. This is from the 1840s.
It could have belonged to the Donner Party.
Great, Sarah grumbled, crossing her arms. I'm sure it works perfectly after almost 200 years in the snow.
Come on, Dave, it's junk.
But Dave wasn't listening. He was obsessed. He fiddled with the machine, and by some ghoulish miracle, he got it to work. He placed the needle on the record that was still on the platter and began turning the crank.
At first, there was only static. I was about to make a sarcastic comment, but then a voice emerged from the horn. A faint, trembling voice, as dry as autumn leaves. It wasn't music. It was a man, and he was telling a story. He spoke of hunger, not normal hunger. He described it as a living beast in his stomach, clawing, gnawing. He spoke of the madness of looking at his companions and seeing only walking meat. Then, his voice changed, becoming clinically lucid, as if sharing a precious secret. He began to recite a recipe. First, he whispered, the voice scratching at our ears, you must tenderize the flesh with clean snow. Rub it vigorously. It helps remove the gaminess and makes the fiber softer. As for the bones, do not discard them. Crack them open. The marrow within is the sweetest, most nourishing part. It can be eaten raw or simmered with melted snow for a broth. We stood frozen. The wind seemed to die. The entire forest held its breath to listen. And then, a sound broke the horrific silence. My stomach. It let out a loud, echoing, embarrassing growl. Sarah turned to glare at me, but I saw something different in her eyes. A strange, focused emptiness. Dave had stopped cranking, but he was staring at the gramophone, his lips silently mouthing the last words. Sweetest broth. He swallowed hard, the sound obscenely loud in the still air. Well, he said, trying to laugh but only managing a grotesque twitch of his lips. At least if we get lost, we won't be short on emergency supplies, right? He wasn't looking at me when he said it. He was looking at Sarah's bicep. And Sarah, she was looking at my thigh. That's when I realized the gramophone hadn't just played a recording. It had released something, an idea, a hunger, and it was contagious. I ran. I don't know how long for. The initial terror has given way to bone-deep cold and weary resignation. I have to think logically. It was the power of suggestion, a cruel psychological trick played by history. When the sun comes up, this hungry ghost will vanish. The chewing sound is stopped. See? It was all in my head. I let out a sigh of relief, leaning my head against the cold rock. But the hunger isn't imaginary. It's a gnawing, violent, painful thing. I wish I had a chocolate bar, a piece of bread, anything. In my desperation, I bring my numb fingers to my mouth, sucking on them for any hint of warmth, and that's when I freeze. There's a strange taste in my mouth, a salty, metallic tang of blood, and something crunchy, hard between my teeth. The chewing sound. It was never behind me. It wasn't coming from Dave or Sarah. It was right here, in my own mouth. I slowly lower my hand, and in the dim moonlight filtering into the alcove, I see my fingers. They're dark and wet. The nail on my index finger is gone, replaced by a ragged, chewed-up mess of flesh. A moan escapes my throat, an inhuman sound. The hunger isn't an idea, it's a presence, and it's found a new home. I try to stand, my legs trembling. I have to find Dave and Sarah. I have to warn them. Or
Maybe they already know. Maybe they feel it too. I step out of the alcove into the moonlit, snow-covered forest. It's no longer silent. I can hear it now. A faint whisper repeating over and over in my head, in the same voice as the man from the record. The marrow within is the sweetest. In the distance, among the trees, I see a figure moving. It's Sarah. She's stumbling, her arms hanging limply. She isn't looking for me. She's heading toward another figure, lying still in the snow. It's Dave. I want to scream to stop her, but my throat closes up. Part of me, a deep and primal part, doesn't want her to stop. It wants to watch. It wants to learn. Sarah kneels beside Dave, who seems to have fallen and passed out. She doesn't shake him. She just leans down, and in the dead silence of the Sierra night, I hear a familiar sound. A wet, chewing sound. And I realize I'm smiling. The hunger inside me roars in approval. I'm not running anymore. I'm walking toward them, slowly, steadily. The feast has just begun, and I don't want to be late.
The final word has been written for tonight, but the whisper pen is never truly silent. Subscribe and return for the next chapter. Good night.